Hello, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Jesse. My pronouns are he, him. And I am your GM tonight for this session of um, Electric Bastion Land by Chris McDowell, running Patrick Stewart and Scrap Princess's adventure module, Deep Carbon Observatory. And with me, I have three delightful players who will introduce themselves in left to right in character keeper order. So, Robbie, why don't you go ahead?
All right. My name's Robbie. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Guillen, uses she, her pronouns. She is an expelled lamplighter and is in possession of a mummy mask at this point. I think we could also imagine her in possession of a bag of a sorcerer. Selminium
Mhm.
Tim, who had this bag, which I imagine Guillen would, while he was unconscious, has uh, uh, at least temporarily taken command of that bag of
Yeah.
Selminium Tim.
And if you want, so many intent was the priest. This is
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes,
Oh,
this
this is
is
right. This is
so many names. This is it's like Ruben
no. This was what is his name?
Ruskin Behavior. That's right,
Yeah.
Ruskin Behavior.
Yes.
Who is along with you for who's along for you with you folks for the ride, and we should talk about what he if you want to rifle through that bag in a bit. We'll see what's in there. Um, uh, um, Fraser, want to go ahead?
Sure, my name's Fraser, he, him pronouns. I'm playing Tot the Burglar, also he, him pronouns. And he's a weird fellow with a mask and a bow pistol and some slumber bombs, and he found a use for some corpse coins the other day.
Yes, he certainly did. Um, and finally, Puckett.
Hi there, I am Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. I will be playing Kix. She, her pronouns. She's a creature catcher who has a way with snakes. And found a bunch of poisonous snakes, and, well, we had a bunch of different ideas about what to do with them last time, including somehow strapping them to something like crossbow bolts and shooting them into boats to deal with bandits and cannibals. But we really just wound up tossing one into a boat, and it worked pretty well.
Mhm.
So, venomous snakes are, in fact, are now an improved way to deal with cannibals, should you ever need to know that.
Yes, yes, and you got them all back, I think, right? You have all three snakes again. You may want to find something to feed them soon, or maybe not.
Besides
Um,
cannibals,
well, I mean, they're not going to eat the cannibals, right? They're just biting
that's
the
yeah. I need to find like something
some
that's
mice
not
or lizards or something. Yeah,
lizards. There you go.
yeah. Okay. So we are using some safety tools in this game. Um, actually, let me share my screen so we can pull this up. We're using some safety tools in this game. The first one is the X card. Should anything happen in the game that you are like, no, I don't like that. That's not right. Say X. Put your arms up in an X. Write in the chat X card, and the thing will be excised from play. No questions or judgment, with a small caveat that some questions just to clarify what's being X carded might be asked to make sure it doesn't pop up again by mistake. Um, Another safety tool we are using are lines and veils. We have a list of lines, which are things which will not appear in the game, and veils, which may appear in the game but not directly on camera. When we come to them, they will be sort of fade to black and not focused on, or just sort of skimmed over. So we have one line, and that line is sexual assault. And we have veils on harm to animals, sexual content, and torture. And then things that we're saying they can be in the game if they come up, but just to check in with people to make sure they're comfortable in the moment before invoking them. Suicide and homophobia. Um, yeah. Finally, the final safety tool we are using is script change, which are actually 3 tools rolled into one. Rewind lets you just say, hey, that stuff that just happened, can we just go back to right before that and excise it from play? Pause, which says, hey, I need a break. I just need to breathe. I'm cool with everything, but just need a moment. So you'll pause the game for a moment. And fast forward, which is a tool for sort of fading the black, dropping the curtain. Whatever's about to happen can still happen in the fiction, but it will not happen on camera. So those are our safety tools. And with that in mind, let us now play. So you have found yourselves in Polnacrom Village, or really over here, outside of Polnacrom Village, where you have chased a group of cannibals and drowned them. But they were meeting with some kind of a witch under the water, whom you also killed. Regular group of murder hobos here, at least with cannibals and witches. Didn't even try to talk to her. But then again, she was threatening. So anyway, and so you found yourselves over here. Meanwhile, in the village, the Volage, as I wrote it incorrectly. Oh, that's right. Kix did try. Was not very successful. So in the village, you have heard when you were coming through, you saw people on the rooftops, or trying to stay above ground, not because the water was so deep that they couldn't get out, but because there was a golem destroying the buildings and then grabbing the rubble and walking off with it. And then as you return to the village, as you are sort of leaving from the place where you have left these bodies, you hear the golem returning, coming back to the village. So what would you like to do? It's the 3 of you are in your skiff, and you have managed to grab. What have you done? How have you secured the canoes of the cannibals, which I know you said you wanted to do?
Maybe I'm just in one.
Yeah, I was going to say define secured. Like, are we talking about lashing into our skiff, or like just making sure the cannibals are out of them, or?
Yeah, I guess secured assumed that you were going to lash into your skiff or something. I guess my question is, like, what are you doing with them? How are you getting them? How are you taking them with you? It's really the question. How many people? It sounds like Tott's in one of them, is what he said, right? Sure.
Yeah, and how many people do we need to sail the skiff?
I think 1. I don't think it's me. I think it's probably a 1-person job. It's not a huge boat.
So, Geen, do you want to lash the other canoe to like one of the pontoons on the skiff, or?
Yeah, or just have it either do that or just have it trailing behind.
Okay. I guess that's what Geen and I are doing then.
Yeah, sure. And it is, I'd say it's a little bit afternoon, probably, right? It took you about 3 hours to get to the village, from early in the morning when you were following behind the cannibals, and then you spent some time chasing the cannibals out of the village and over to this area, and then had the fight. So about we'll say it's around noon, and I think that as you're starting, and you have rescued Ruskin Behavior, the wizard who we mentioned earlier, who I think is starting to come to. But before he wakes up, I want to, Gian, you have his bag. So if you want to look through that.
I think Gian does take, when there's a brief moment, will take an opportunity to kind of empty the bag on the deck of the skiff just to see what's in there.
Yeah, sure. So there's not very much. It's like a ratty. It's not even really a bag. It's kind of like a when you look at old timey like movies, right? With hobos in them, right? They've got that like kind of like handkerchief or like big cloth tied up attached to a stick, right? That's really kind of what this is, right? But the stick isn't there. I guess it got tossed away by the cannibals or whatever. It's just like a folded up kind of cloth tied at the top. And it's not even that big, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you open it up, what you find a change of clothes that looks remarkably like the ratty robes that Ruskin is already wearing. You find a small. Oh, I take that back. No, I don't take that back. You find ratty robes. You find 2 or 3 scrolls, which, if you like open them up to look at them again, you'll recognize the script. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar to what was in the priest's holy book, and very much like that same script, identical to the script that you saw on some of those coins that Tot has shoved down the mouth of the witch. And I assume you tried to retrieve some of them. How many did you have?
Oh, I had 13.
So I think like 8 of them are retrievable.
Okay.
Right. I think 5 of them just got, shoved too far down her throat, and they're stuck. That's it.
But she's going to the afterlife at least.
Yeah, she'll be able to pay the ferryman for sure.
Yeah. And give a good tip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a few scrolls. There's this ratty robe, and that's pretty much it. It's not even particularly full. There may have been other stuff in it at one point, but maybe the cannibals went through it and took what was valuable to them.
And the scrolls are not anything I'm able to read, correct?
No, you cannot read them. On the other hand, the person they belong to is here in your boat, so I don't think if you show them around, none of you can read this. None of you can read this script or know what it is. And yeah, so you hear the golem, and actually just to remind everybody. Oh, not that part though. Let me not have this open when I share my screen. Give away all my GM secrets. Just to remind everybody, this is what the golem looks like over here. Yeah. So you hear the splashing and stomping of the golem as it approaches the village again, and Ruskin starts to wake up, and he sort of like rubs his face, and he's like, "Oh my!" or "What? Oh, where? What?"
I'm sitting cross-legged in front of him.
Sure. And he looks at you and he's like, "You were there when he died."
You mean your magician, whatever he was?
Yeah. And you can tell he's like super groggy.
How's your journey going?
Excuse me. Not great, to be honest. As you can maybe tell.
Kind of got that impression when we pulled you out of that pack of half a dozen cannibals and brought you onto our boat and didn't kill you in your sleep because we're kind of nice people.
Yeah, well, thank you. So what happened? Are you still sort of like, have you folks moved on, or are you still back there where you started?
I think we're kind of moving toward the village to like get the canoes to the people there so they can try to get out before the golem stomps them to death?
Yeah,
Does that make
absolutely.
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Does it make sense to the rest of the party?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So so he says, well, thank you for that. What's happening?
Oh, well, there's a giant golem back there, so we figured we'd save you from that too, and kind of just head on out. But if you have a different idea, we can leave you here.
Well, I definitely golem. You said I don't think I want to deal with maybe. Do you my scrolls?
And I gesture over my shoulder. So, Robbie, is it Geen, Gien, Gien? I mean, it seems like there's a different pronunciation like every few minutes.
Yeah, well, I think that's actually the case with her. That even she herself, depending on the situation, will pronounce it slightly differently.
Gotcha. So I gesture over my shoulder at Gian, and so, as far as I know, they're here. I think Gian might have been looking at them, but well, as well as the rest of us do, you're probably the only person on this boat who can actually read them. So, not like they're terribly useful to us.
Yeah. And he starts like going through them and looking at them, and there's, like I said, there's like 3 of them, and he finds one, and he says, what does it look like?
Well, it's big.
Yeah, big. That was my first thought too.
And it's threatening, and it has this. The most prominent feature is like in its head, it has this strange. I mean, does it kind of look like a gem? I mean, does it have a color that 12-sided?
Yeah, I mean it's a stone. It's like I think you can sort of picture it as. I mean, it looks like a 12-sided die, right? That's the right. It's like solid black, kind of just like in that. It doesn't really have much of a face, really, but where a face would be is this.
Right. It has this 12 sided stone kind of embedded into it.
Yeah, and he says 12. You said 12, and he like runs his finger down the scroll, and you hear him whisper, "Kabibona Khan," and then he looks up at you and says, "You can leave me here, please."
Leave you here, as in meaning you don't want to engage the golem, or?
Yes. I do not want to be near any one of these golems, but especially, well, maybe not especially, but not this one for sure.
And I look at Geen, kind of confused, and say, doesn't he know that golem is coming back this way?
Yes.
So you want us to leave you in its path?
He looks afraid for a second. How do you know it's coming here?
And I point in the general direction of the footsteps that we hear approaching.
Yes, it's over there. I know that. How do you know it's coming? We're moving towards it. You should put me as far away behind you as you can, really, is what I'm seeing here.
Well, what do you know? It seems like you know something about this golem. What do you know about it?
I know that it's here. That there are. This text is incomplete, so I don't know very much. And he sort of like shows you he doesn't show you because he's in a little bit of a hurry. But the text is incomplete, and it's old, and the ink is running, and then the water. It's just. I know it's here, and there are others, and they were made by the people who built the dam, and they are big and they break things. And I don't know, they're not supposed to be out here. They're supposed to be by the dam, but well, there isn't one anymore, really.
So Ruskin,
Yeah, he's like, if you're not going to let me off, stop the boat, please. We're getting closer to that sound, and I don't want to be there. Did you unbind him? I realized I said he was covering his hands with his face, but you never told me whether you unbound him or not.
I think we probably left him bound, scare quotes, for his own safety.
Got it. And untie me immediately. I think you probably would have been on top of that earlier, but whatever, it's fine. Untie me and let me off.
Well, Ruskin, I've got an idea here, and I just wanted to run this past you, because it seems like your travels have been a little bit rocky up to this point, and we are still headed to the same place last I checked. So I was wondering if you'd thought any more about whether you'd be okay with an equal split, as opposed to trying to pay us 20%, considering that we just saved you and all.
I don't want to go with you if you're going towards the golem. So if you want to try and find me after you go there, that's fine. We could talk about split then. For now, leave me here. And untie me. I'm being held prisoner still.
I look at Geen and put my face in my hands.
This feels less like a rescue and more like continued imprisonment.
Well, at the very least, we're not going to dine on you. So that's something.
And then from the back canoe, you hear Tot say, "Is it going well?"
Well, Gian will look at Kix and say, well, certainly we can release Ruskin at some point, but I kind of want to get a closer look at the golem and see what it's up to. It does strike me that yes, the golem is big and strong, but it does strike me that 12-sided stone is the key to the golem. And if we could find some way to leverage that thing out of its face, I would imagine it would be a little bit more sedate.
Well, but don't all we need to do is get the people these boats, and then they can just peace out.
Yeah, to be clear, and you probably, I think you probably got close enough the first time to see this, right? Like, doesn't seem interested in the people so much, right? And I mean, you'll see what you see when you get back to the village, right? But like, I think it's just sort of like it's wreaking a lot of havoc, and so they don't like they sort of, that was a place that they couldn't reach, but it's not clear that it wasn't like chasing them.
But what was it interested just in like structures and like?
I mean, you don't really know. You weren't there long enough, right? But you could,
okay.
right. It was destroyed. What you saw it do was like it was destroying buildings, and then it picked up the debris it had knocked down and walked off with it. Right? Okay. It didn't like stick around to like destroy the building enough that someone would fall and it could get a person.
Mm-hmm.
Help me, somebody, please.
Maybe one of us could stay behind and help Ruskin get like more recovered from his little ordeal. Well, two of us just deliver the canoes to the people and then just peace out and meet back.
I think by now, if you've been continually moving, you're like getting into the village. And he's, oh no, it's a disaster. We're here. Oh, it's huge. And the you hear thump thump, and there's the scene in the village as you arrive. Is somewhat different from when you left, but not radically different. There aren't nearly as many people on top of buildings, right? In the time that you've been gone while the golem ran off, right? Like some people came down. There's like, I think two of the taller houses have like a couple people on them that like either couldn't make it down or were just too scared about what would happen if they could come down. But the village has more or less emptied itself out. You might find some of those people if you like. They probably can't have gotten far, but they're they're not there anymore except for a few. And the golem has, I think, arrives at the same time as you do, and just starts like bashing down a building that is not actually one. It doesn't have anybody on it, and you see those like scared faces up on top of, but nothing. It doesn't actually seem like they don't. There doesn't seem like those people are in immediate danger. Although that could change. You don't really know quite what's going on at the moment.
Well, I'm thinking maybe we should head over to the people who are hanging out on the building and see if they're interested in a canoe.
All right. I think the other thing though is that you're like right on the edge of the village, right? And I think that you're going to see that like you've kind of like come aground, like as you sort of get to the edge of where the buildings actually are, right? The water, the ground is high enough that like the water is only really ankle deep, and your boat won't like float there. Right? You can't like take the boat actually into the village.
I could run into the village and run around yelling just yelling, letting people know that there's canoes so they can evacuate.
Yeah. I mean, you hear Ruskin is shouting still, I've been kidnapped. Like he will not stop. I've been kidnapped twice now. I demand my freedom. I think he's you can see he's kind of like trying to wiggle his hands free.
Do we have a sack or anything like that we can put him in?
I mean, you have his sack. You have the snake sack. And I think the next thing that starts to happen is he starts to mutter some strange words.
Ruskin, stop, please.
Yeah, if that's all you do, he keeps going, and the next moment, he and the scrolls in front of him have shrunk down to about a third of his size. Oh no, not the scrolls haven't. He has shrunk down to about like a third of his normal size, and he is easily able to slip out of the bonds. You call yourselves my rescuers?
Can I grab him by the scruff of his neck?
Yep.
And
you
hold
grab
him
him by the scruff of his neck, and you pick him up. And now you kidnap me again. And
Ruskin, you were drugged. You were heavily sedated. We did not want you to hurt yourself when you came to, and roll off the boat and drown. That's why you were restrained. We're not kidnapping you.
You would not let me go when I asked to be freed.
Ruskin, look at yourself. Can you actually walk a straight line?
Put me down and we'll see.
I sigh and put him down.
He starts. He grabs the scrolls, like, which he has to sort of wrap his entire set of arms around, and starts running for the edge of the boat, muttering other strange words as he goes.
I'm going to grab him by the scruff of his neck again.
Roll a dex save.
Why not? And that is D20. All right. That is 19, it looks like. And that is way over my dex.
Yeah, that is a miss. I'm not going to make this hit you too hard. Right? He finishes his spell and dives over the edge, splashing in the water, and like shoving and sort of like going where the water is deeper and submerging, and sort of he disappears under the water, with his scrolls. In the meantime, which may not have been the smartest thing on his part, but in the meantime, he's obviously agitated. In the meantime, the golem has finished destroying that house, and is like starting to gather the debris. And it sees that it's not quite enough to fill its arms. So it sets it down in a neat pile and starts walking up to one of the houses that have people on top of it and starts hammering away at that house.
I want to go alongside it and allow people to like fall off and come in.
Right. So I said a minute ago, you can't really take the boat that way into the right. The town is dry enough. Like you'll be up to your ankles in water, but you're not gonna like.
I'll just run up to them and say, "I have a boat. Come with me."
How can we get down?
Jump!
It's
Jump
like
if you want to live.
It's like 20. It's far and hard. Well, I don't even know what's the water. I can't see. And then pound, and like you can see that the building's going to collapse pretty soon underneath them if they don't do something.
I'll throw up a rope.
Sure.
And have them secure it, and then
absolutely,
maybe
yeah,
down.
Yeah. You toss a rope up, and these two people come down. It is a middle-aged woman and an elderly man. The middle-aged woman has sort of kind of thin, short, blonde hair, and a really long, sort of like pointed cleft chin. And the elderly man is completely bald, and you can see on the top of his head sort of like very, very faded set of tattoos. Which you can't quite make out what they were, but you can see that his head was tattooed at one point. And they scramble down, and meanwhile, pound. And just as they get down, the building collapses, and the golem starts gathering up the wood, and walking away. Oh, thank you. They say, you said you have a boat?
Yes. And I'll point them in the direction and say, do you know if there's other people similarly stranded?
Most of them came down. I don't know where they went. They ran down the river. But we can, if you give us the boat, we can try and find them.
I want to see if they're lying.
I mean, you have no reason, like you don't know these people. They seem perfectly very stressed and terrified. But like, I think they say, look, they see your sort of distrust, and the old man says, listen, I've lived here my whole life. It's my cousins and my grandchildren and and my neighbors, and yes, one or two of them I probably wouldn't care if they drowned, but we're gonna do our best to find them if we can. And I mean, you can believe that or not, but that's, you know, I think he doesn't seem like particularly insincere. You probably also can guess that like they're also not going to like go searching high and low for everybody either, right? They're looking.
Yeah, that's fine. We have another boat too, anyway, right?
Yeah,
we have two. So, well, the locals have a better chance.
And I think Gian would like to at least follow the golem from a distance, but to try to get a sense of where the golem might be taking this debris.
Oh yeah, you can absolutely do that. I mean, you have to sort of leave these people behind, but it sounds like you're going to do that anyway, right? To leave them back with the boat. Is that good? Or are you all good with that? So you can either it doesn't move that quickly. It's big and slow. So you could follow it on foot, right? Which is it is gonna end up going towards like deeper water, but nothing that's like over your head, right? Or you can sort of try and take the boat around the village and sort of guess where it will pop out. And I think you can do that pretty successfully. I'm not going to make you roll for that or anything. And if you do that, you'll be able to follow the follow it like in the boat. So whichever you sort of prefer.
Or we could even do a thing where maybe like Gian could, you know, before it gets really deep, would at least stay there to kind of continue to watch where as it heads off, to wait for the boat to come around, and then we'd have a pretty good bead on where it was heading.
Absolutely. You could totally do that. Let's make sure. Yeah, and that works. If that's what you want to do, that absolutely works. So you come around the village and you hop into the let me just look at something quick and then pull the map up real quick. Yeah. So hold on. So let me just pull the map up so I can sort of show you where you are here. Sorry. Yeah. So you sort of move over in this direction, right? And you come out of the village, right? This is all sort of like right here, right? Sort of the edge of this square. It's like a little bit of a hike, right? Because the village is not actually this whole square, right? The village is just sort of taking up a smaller space in it. So you sort of get the outskirts and then the area, and you're probably moving for like a solid 15, 20 minutes to get to sort of where it is. And it's, the water is like up to its, knees or whatever, just below its knees, which would be up to like the chest on one of you. There's this towering pile of debris, right? Of beams and girders and roof tiles. It's just like huge. And in the center of it, that it has built up, and there's a gap there's like sort of a hole in the center of it. And it looks at it, and it kind of judges, like you can see it sort of like looking at it to see if it's like, have I done right? Is this what I'm looking for? And as it sort of has made that decision, and there's like the water actually is like sort of flowing through that gap in the center, that hole. It's very slowly, it's like trickling through. It kneels down. And so, as I described before, right, there's this stone right in its sort of the center of that flat thing that was roughly where its face would be. And below it, there's like this spinning, there's this mouth sized sort of circle with like, it's almost like a spinning set of blades or turbines in it, right? And I don't think it's making this buzz. And I think the closer you got to it, right now that you can hear it's like humming very loudly and vibrating the air around it, and it puts its mouth up to the place where the water is coming through the hole, and almost like it's trying to drink or something from it, but nothing happens, and the humming sort of slows and slows and slows, and then it kind of stops, right? Almost as if, like, if it's a buzzing bee, it had been like slowly crushed, so that buzz, right? And it's there. You can see, like, as the water shifts underneath it, you can see it sometimes, and like its weight sort of bears down on the sort of silty, muddy ground. You can see it kind of adjusts its position occasionally to keep its mouth lined up. So it's not dead, but something has happened, and it's just kind of it's there, with its face up against this structure.
So, I mean, and it just stays there, or does it?
It just stays there. It's built this structure that it seems like it's satisfied with, and it's kind of like, I imagine. I mean, that it's satisfied with. It's something happened to it, right? It's the thrumming, the vibrating isn't happening like it was, but it's just. You can tell me how long you want to sit and watch it for. I'll tell you what happens.
And the
but for
vibrating
now, it's not doing anything.
Is the vibrating coming from the golem or from the structure that it's built?
It was coming from its mouth.
Okay.
I mean, sort of like radiating out of its head. I think you probably at some point I think I said this too at the beginning, so that like in its mouth there's like this spinning,
right,
like blades, like a fan,
mm-hmm.
or a wind turbine or something like that.
Do you think this thing is hydropowered?
I don't know if it's hydropowered, but it's clearly interested in the flow of water, it seems.
I mean, why else would it be putting its mouth against? I mean, if it's building a dam and putting its mouth to the hole, it's trying to increase pressure so that the water comes out faster. If it's got its mouth up to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it may be hydropowered, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a curious thing. I'm not sure what use it is for us, though.
If it's not harming people, I'm not too worried about it. Unless this is the thing that caused the flooding. Doesn't seem like it would cause that much flooding, though, right?
How could
unless it's going unless it's going around methodically making flooding happen all over the place. But it seems like the flooding that we've seen on this scale doesn't seem like it would be.
Right. I mean, and you don't know what caused it, obviously, but like the direct reason for the flood is that the dam broke.
Right.
Like that you have ascertained. That's like everyone knows that. The question is just like, well, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And this thing seems to be building a dam, so it's on the side of non-flooding, maybe.
Well, I'm inclined to maybe just let it continue humming away, and I think it's probably connected to the dam in some way, but yeah, I don't know that it's caused the dam to break.
I'm with Todd. I'm in favor of just letting it be. I mean, it feels like anything we mess with gets worse.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't want to have to lose more corpse coins on this thing either.
When you ask, is it a real dam? What are you asking there? Was that a question for me or?
For the corpse coins?
You just in the chat you asked, is it a real dam? I just want to.
Oh yeah. I was wondering if it is like an actual dam, but it seems like
it's just like a mound of debris, like in the water. But I mean, I think when Kix called it a dam, right? She like what she says that the resemblance is obvious in terms of like it's a thing in the water. Water's flowing through it in a certain way.
Yeah, and it's putting its head in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Impersonating a dam. Yeah. I mean, if it's satisfied with what it's made, it's not going to pillage the town for more debris and stuff, it seems like.
Yeah, also, at this point, so far as you know, there isn't really anyone left in the village.
Yeah. So, whatever. We'll just...
Okay, so what do you want to do? You can head back to the village and look around a little bit. It's probably, at this point, it's been another hour and a half, right? You're sort of between 1 and 2. You've got, you can keep on going down the river. Let's pull that map back up. You can keep on going down the river. You can, I think, you can keep on going down the river. You can go back to the village. You saw that windmill before. Like there's things you could probably from where you are. It's not that big, but you can still make out the outline of that windmill on the top of the hill, right over here that you saw. I drew it disproportionately large in this picture, but it is it's visible even from a distance because it's way up on that hill. Or you can just keep going, see what you see as you continue traveling upriver.
Yeah, I say we look for some treasures in the town if we can, and then otherwise we'll just keep going up the river. I don't think we're going to be catching up with Rustskin, and it seems like, that relationship is soiled.
Kix tried very hard. Yeah. So if you want to take some time to go back to the village and explore it, I mean, I'll tell you like what you saw and what you know about like the damage that's been done. Like it is certainly possible that like somebody left their family china, or like if you want, or like you want to like really poke around and go through the houses carefully, you might find like a hidden stash of something. But like it's not like it's a treasure hoard. It's people got out with what they could after the flood, and you can certainly loot people's homes and come up with some stuff, but it's, it didn't seem like a place that had tons of treasure.
Meta question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there such a thing as armor in this game?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I would like to at least look around to see if I see anything that resembles armor.
Sure. How much time do you want to spend?
What time of day is it? Is it 1 or 2?
It is, it's like early afternoon between 1 and 2.
Todd, Geen, are you okay with this?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. I don't think we should, I don't think we need to spend the rest of our day doing this, but I think a decent sweep through things just to see if there's anything immediately noticeable that looks valuable or interesting.
Okay, so here's how I'm going to do this mechanically. All right, this is just a way to like to claim responsibility here is all. I'm going to roll a d6. Tell me how many hours you want to spend. And if you hit that number or below, you'll find roughly what you're looking for. I will tell you that you are unlikely to find anything of like super high quality, because again, this is like a poor village in this valley. But like you say, you're looking for something you can use as armor. If you get the, if you hit the target number or below, you will find something like that.
4 hours. Or do you want to just do 6 hours? Boom, done.
Right. At that point, it's sundown, right? You're spending the rest of the day there, which you can do.
I like to travel in the dark. I'm a risky.
I was thinking we could also make camp here and just poke around. I mean, it seems like this is a relatively safe place now, with the cannibals drowned, the water witch dead, the golem seemingly content, and all the residents gone. And Ruskin, well,
Yeah, I mean, the other piece of that is every hour you hang out we roll for random encounters. That's the other, so the game works that way.
Is a random encounter.
That's one. Random encounters is a 1 in 6 chance. Okay. Right. It's a 1 in 6 chance, and they're not all necessarily like bad, right? It's like just something comes by. It could be dangerous.
It could be a guy just literally giving us armor.
That's unlikely.
Yeah. So how long do you want to spend then, everyone?
I mean, that's a tough question, because if we're not going to be searching for 4 or 5 hours, we're going to be unlikely to get anything. Like, if we're just searching for an hour or two, so why bother searching at all?
Well, there's still a chance, though.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like 16% or whatever it is for rolling.
Yeah, 16%.
You know what? You're right. Let's make it a D4.
That's pretty good.
That ups your odds pretty well.
So what do you think?
Like a couple hours and we get a 50-50 chance. And
yeah.
And each one of you tell me what you're looking for. That's the other thing. We're not going to just make it like the one thing Kix is looking for.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Again, within reason, right? This is a poor village that is in terrible shape. People who could leave and take their stuff with them did.
I'm looking for armor or something armor adjacent.
Yeah. You're more likely to find something armor adjacent than actual armor, but we'll make it work. I'm not.
Look, if it's a blacksmith apron that counts as leather armor, that's fine.
It's exactly the kind of thing it will probably end up being.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind armor either, to be honest. I'm pretty squishy as well. I've got 3 HP max.
And Gian, you looking for anything?
I don't think Gian is really. I think maybe Gian is just like, oh, this is like a local village. Maybe if there's any kind of local cuisine that some kind of unusual food item.
Sure. We can make that work. Okay. Let's 2 hours. So first, let's roll that die. And that was a 1. So I think Tot and Kix, as you are like rummaging through one of the houses that seems to have doubled as a like a carpenter's workshop, right? They have like a towards the edge of town. There's like all of this broken furniture and bits and tools in there, right? I think what you come across is basically there. It's not a whole lot. Okay. But basically what it is, it's like, imagine like a sandwich board ad that you can hang, like that will drape over your shoulders right, to cover your sort of torso, made of wood, right? And like it seems like it you know, there's some big wooden swords next to them, and like kind of a padded wooden hats, and it seems like maybe this carpenter's kids or whatever, maybe he himself liked to Botholarp or whatever, and they would like beat each other up with these wooden swords, and they would wear these wooden covers to protect them. So right, so that it looks kind of goofy, but it won't impede your movement or anything. And like, yeah, if you get hit, you know, if you get hit in your torso, right, like sort of area or head, right, it's 1 armor, which just reduces damage by 1.
Mm-hmm.
Are we satisfied with that? If you want to try and describe it to be a little bit cooler, I made it very goofy, but if you want to be a little more badass, you can describe it yourself. But that's its purpose, right? It's this like sort of toy armor that was made to sort of like for people who were hitting each other with wooden swords.
Can mine be out of like porcelain?
Sure. Doesn't porcelain just shatter when it gets hit, though?
Well, it might be sturdy porcelain.
Like a kind of Pyrex deal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's glass armor in Elder Scrolls, for God's sake.
Yeah, but that's the best stuff. That's not the cheap. Sure, if you want it to be glass, it can be like heavy tempered glass of some kind. That they maybe they dug it out, you know, from the remains of the dam or whatever.
Well, I was thinking maybe I strung it together from like a literal porcelain, like that they would eat off of, like a serving plate or something.
Sure. It's too cool. It's too cool not to have happen. And Kix, what would you prefer? How do you want this to, like, what's your found armor?
I'm just sitting here laughing, thinking about it like a chafing dish chest piece. So since we're talking about a carpenter,
mm-hmm.
I like the idea of the sandwich board, but I think it'd probably be something a little bit more flexible.
Sure.
So like a series of wooden blocks that were strung together with like really heavy twine, like there was a hole drilled through the center of them. So you can actually put it on and it'll sort of, you don't have to have your arms out to the side like you're T-posing or something like that, like you would with the sandwich board. Mm-hmm. So there's just the tiniest bit more flexibility with it, but it's still basically a bunch of blocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Very cool. And Gian, so tell me what food you found that was like somehow or another was like up in an attic in a quarter and managed to stay like dry and not rot over the past 3 days since the dam broke.
Yeah, I put it in the chat, like maybe it's like this curious hard candy that the village had made that has like this kind of seafood kind of tinge to it, like possibly made out of the cuttlefish or some other thing from the but it's sweet, but also has this kind of odd, fishy flavor to it as well.
Absolutely. And you know, so while you're searching, nothing shows up. You know, you don't get interrupted. All is quiet. And you find what you're looking for. And where would you, now that you're done, it's now, we'll call it 3:30. Like, you know, mid to late afternoon. Sunsets, we said around 7 and 8. So where would you like to go next? You have your boat. You are free to explore. You as I said, you've seen the windmill. You could go there. You could continue just down along the river to continue on your journey. Whatever you like.
Might as well continue. The more people we meet, the more people we get pulled away from our journey.
Yeah, I mean, would we have time to, like, before nightfall get like down close to the windmill where we could then?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're here, right? So, like, if you go straight ahead, you could be at the windmill by around nightfall. If you're continuing your journey, I'm sorry, I'm pointing on the. If you're continuing your journey, along the river, it'll take a little bit longer to get like closer there. You'd also obviously have to leave your boat behind over here, right, to get up there. You could continue that way. So you have options.
Let's take the long way around, so it's closer to the destination, but still stop at the windmill.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
then it looks like one of the squares, we wouldn't have to leave it too far away, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you could leave it right here.
Yeah. Be nestled right up to it.
Right. I mean, it will be dark by the time you get that far, but you may be, because the long way around is going to be like 1, 2, 3. It's like a 5-hour trip, give or take. But you're going that way, and you probably don't want to try to drag your boat to cut across like that. So,
yeah, I tell people that I was adopted by darkness, so it's okay.
Okay, so as you're continuing up the river this way, one thing that sort of happens as you get not too far, right, about an hour out, so around 4:30, you're like right around here. You see on the shore of the river. Tell me how you're sailing. Like, which bank are you staying close to the bank that you can see the windmill on? Are you like, how are you sort of like moving across the river?
Probably the deepest portions, I'd imagine.
All right, so then this is how it's going to work. That's fine.
Are we still going against the wind, having to tack back and forth across the river?
Yeah, I mean, the wind is not really directly with you, but it's not terrible either.
Okay.
Two wrong side. Great. So you are like, sorry. There we go. You find like it's not really a whole like windmill situation, but you see like by the bank of the river, like a small like a millstone, with a like a water wheel, but the whole thing is busted. Right, the wheel isn't spinning. Right, the mill isn't moving. It's clearly abandoned. Right, it's just it's the ruins of this of this old sort of this mill that has been destroyed by the flood. And as you sail by it, like dead center of the river, and this is like as you're approaching, right, dead center of the river, sort of across from it, there's something kind of like black and round, like sitting, like protruding just above the surface, and you can hear these thrumming vibrations, which send these like rippling patterns out away from it. And it's right there in the middle of the river. It's big but not huge. And it's just sort of like there. What would you like to do?
Do you mind if we take a bathroom break?
Yeah, this is a great time for that, actually. Yeah, let's take 15, and then we'll come back and see what you want to how you want to deal with this thing.
I'm back, Jesse, just so you know.
Fantastic.
I was busy looking at the 24XX game jam and realized, oh, wait a minute, I should probably say I'm back.
Wonderful. Robbie will hopefully be back in a second, and then you'll tell me what you want to do about a thing. Where nothing is always a possible answer. So I'm running for another thing, a one shot of Patrick Stewart and Scrap Princess did this little like pamphlet like in adventure at the sign of the Golden Duck or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, the Inn of the Golden Duck. And so I'm running that elsewhere. I decided to do it in Troika. And so I'm just like digging up like weird and funky Troika backgrounds to be, because it's a one shot. I just want to like give people a choice of like 6 or 10 or whatever it is. And they choose one of these backgrounds, and it's been a ton of fun. There are so many Troika backgrounds.
I think there's been a few game jams just doing Troika.
Yeah. There was at least I went through submissions for one, and there was like just like 60 submissions or something that were just like, here's a Troika background, here's a Troika background. It's good stuff. I'm excited. All right, Robbie is back. So there you are. I'm approaching this sort of call it it's not quite clear what it is, but this almost like half sphere that is sort of protruding from the surface of the water, emitting a loud humming, buzzing sound and having sort of like ripples and like the water vibrating out from around it, presumably because of whatever's causing the buzzing, humming.
The humming, buzzing is I am assuming it's different than the humming of the golem.
It's very similar. I'm not going to say it's identical. But you know, it's and it's also like more muffled because water. But it's a very, very similar sound.
So maybe a golem companion or something like that.
So yeah, I mean, your boat is approaching this this thing. You're gonna try to go around it to the left, around it to the right.
It seems to be
stop.
It seems to be stationary though. It's not really moving around in the river.
It is 100% stationary, not going anywhere for now.
I don't know. What do you think? We could take a closer look.
Yeah, it's pushing things away from it, not in.
Yeah, right? But it's not really like it's not like there's like a force radiating out from it or something. But just like, you know, like if your hand was like trembling, like if you were holding your fist in the water and it was kind of trembling like that. Like, you know, there'd be like ripples coming off, right? Like sort of the water vibrating. That's what it is. It's not like there's big waves, you know, it's pretty contained, but you could just see sort of the evidence of something like moving there.
Do you want to go take a look or just avoid it?
Why would we pass up a chance for something else to go wrong?
Plus, y'all are decked out in that spiffy armor. I'm sure that if anything untoward happened, you would have your extra protection.
So basically, what you're saying is, we just got this armor. Why don't we go test it out? See if it works.
Sure, let's go up to it and see what we can make of it.
So as you sail up to it, like how do you approach it? Like are you like, you know, there's obviously you're on the water, so you have like 360 degrees around, right? Just again to hold on, let me pull the map up again just to give you so I can give you like some positioning kind of.
Well, not like we're gonna ram it. I imagine
No.
alongside it.
Of course not, right? But so like, you know, I want to get a sense of your position, right? You could be like between it and the mill, behind, like just approach it from where you are, come from that side, you know, like you can sort of position yourself wherever. I just want to sort of get a sense of like how you're positioned in relationship to it. And also how, I mean, you're on a sailboat. I guess you're going to like luff out your sails, but it's kind of hard to get too close because of the vibrating and the whatever, right? You don't really, do we say you have, what do we say about an anchor? You sort of made an anchor for yourselves. Forget out of what, but, this isn't like a trick question. I just want to like get a, you know, like I just get a visual of like how you're sort of positioned on the water.
I would suggest maybe at an angle and also like a direction where if this thing actually did start to move around, where we could use the wind to our advantage, perhaps. Like if we needed to get away, approach it so that if we had to turn, we would have the wind going where we could maximize our speed going away.
Sure.
So it sounds like you're thinking like kind of have the boat pointed northwest west.
Yeah, so like pointed in like this direction over here, going like that. And like the river's current is going this way, independent of like wherever the wind is going, the river's current is going this way. So that will, if you let your sails just go, right, the current will take you this way.
Mm-hmm.
So you're pointed back in sort of like that direction. And like on which side of the river towards there? Are you just gonna like come up to it from here? Are you gonna try and go around it first? Like what's the? I'm just like, I want to be basically what I want to be able to tell you what you see, but I want to get a sense of sort of like where you're at in that.
Where I guess on
Here, I'll put a dot on the map to position for this thing. Also, that one might also probably help. A little thicker. This is not to scale, but just to sort of give you the. What's the what? Right, so that it's there, right? That's sort of the.
Yeah, so we want to be on the right side of it so that if we get the wind, then we can point our nose up into the
right.
into
So like,
the
I mean, like so between it and the mill.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Okay, so yeah, so as you sort of like come around, past it, you do start to see like a kind of massive body below the water, like sinking down, right? Like you can sort of there's like there's a mass under there, and this is just sort of the top peeking out, and you see like the vibration is happening, and you see that same kind of spinning maw, right, that you saw, and instead of a 12-sided stone, there's a 20-sided stone, right, stuck there, and when you come like. As you're sort of coming by it, when you're directly between it and the mill, it almost starts to reach you, like reach for you for a second, right? And you see it start to shift, and like what looks like a massive hammer hand, almost, or massive, like start to rise up through the water. But the second you're past it, the second like you're no longer breaking, like to sort of like come around the side of it, you're no longer breaking its sight line with the mill, it immediately calms and just goes back to just sort of sitting there, staring, or doesn't have eyes, but seemingly pointed directly at the mill with its sort of like broken mill wheel flapping in the water, right? The water like lapping up against it, knocking the wheel. that does not turn the stone and barely turns itself. And the boat is like shaking from the vibrations, like it's not very comfortable. What would you like to do?
Wave goodbye.
I am totally good with waving goodbye.
Yeah. So you sail past, waving, as this what you can now sort of deduce is another golem, right? Stares in fascination at this broken mill wheel.
I name it Mark.
And you're just sort of like sailing along towards the where the windmill area. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Cool. So the sun is starting to set as you get to the sort of the banks of the river at the bottom of the hill, the banks of the river at the bottom of the hill. Yeah, and as you sort of get there, and you can see that you see the hill with the windmill looming up, kind of like casting a long shadow as the sun starts to set right to the west. You see a couple of things. The first one is just as you're looking up at the windmill. You can't really see it that well. It's still like a ways away and up a hill, but you're close enough now that you can make out a something that seems. Oh, you can't actually. You can see what look like white spots kind of hanging from the sails of the windmill as they sort of slowly kind of spin, and there's like a sea of kind of white around the bottom. And then as you're sort of like scanning, right, scanning the windmill, the other thing you can sort of see is from sort of just behind it, to the southwest, right in the direction of Caramore, behind the windmill, like on the just before sort of the hill drops down, so you can't see like it's like the hill's horizon, right? You know how when you're looking at a hill, you can sort of see the top until the curve of the hill drops behind it. So right at the edge of that curve, the setting sun sort of glints off something shining, like a glass, as if it's reflecting off glass, perhaps, or something metallic.
And is this on the ground, or is this on land, or is this on the water?
So this is right. Here, I'll pull the map back up again. You are it's all on dry land because it's on a hill. Right, you can sort of so if you are sort of over here, right, so the windmill is up on top of a hill here.
Gotcha.
Probably like a good 45-minute hour trek.
Well, do we want to put another hour into hiking around, or
By the time you get up there, it will be dark. But you have lanterns. I mean, it's not like.
I mean, we have a lantern person. How many parties have somebody who really knows lanterns?
An expert.
Yeah.
To be fair, she's out of work because of the battery-powered lanterns that you have.
Yeah, but
yeah,
she can get the right angles, of the light. Just the right amount.
And actually, just one other thing you sort of see because you're in the area is over behind you, across the river from the windmill. You can see sort of like smoke, not like as if someone has like a cook fire going or something over there, or not like a huge like bonfire or anything, but like just like smoke rising up.
So do you guys want to go to the windmill and the shiny thing?
I am okay with whatever. If somebody really wants to go investigate whatever the shiny thing is, I am totally happy to do that. If folks want to continue going upriver, I'm totally okay with that as well.
Yeah, well, it's nightfall, so I think at some point here, a little rest for the night would be good. The question is, like, do we want to? We could camp here, or we could go up to the windmill itself and maybe camp in the windmill.
Unless there's danger there.
Oh, I'm certain there's no danger in the windmill. It looks like a perfectly pleasant place.
It could be called the Danger Mill for all we know.
Every fan blade, a new threat. The Danger
Mill. We might want to take a short rest so I can get my 1 HP back.
Oh no, you did. Sorry, you That's the end of the last session. You took a short rest. That was like
okay.
We did that quickly.
Okay, then I think we just go for the Danger Mill.
Yeah. So do you do anything to like? There's like underbrush and trees or whatever, right? Do you do anything to hide your boat? Do you just leave it out?
Underbrush it up.
Yeah.
Okay. And we got some machetes too. We have all those machetes, so we can make a really nice little awning maybe for it or something.
Sure. Yeah. You get it good. I'm not going to like force you to take time to do this, right? You quickly, get it under some cover. You cut down some branches or whatever. It is hidden there. I'm not going to promise you it will still be there when you get back, but it probably will, unless something happens. You head up the hill, and as you sort of trek up, it takes you about 45 minutes or so. The sun has fallen behind the edge of the valley. It's not yet pitch dark, but it's dim, right? You're in sort of twilight. As you approach the windmill, and now you can kind of get like now you can see what all that sort of like that's the whatever that sort of like sea of white was, and it turns out it is an enormous number of crabs, white crabs. It would take you a while to count them. There are a lot of them. The crabs are big. They're like I want to say like 2-3 feet across at their widest point. Like, these are not normal sized crabs. They're quite large. They have big claws. And that's why, like, you can see there's a few of them, like, who've grabbed onto they keep on, like, they like, one of them will like grab onto one of the sails of the windmill and get like picked up and pull around. And there's like a few hanging, but then they'll drop. right? And they're very clearly trying to get into the windmill. And like sort of below the crank of the windmill, there's like a window that the sail keeps on sort of passing by, and there's like you can see that there's like a kind of torchlight or something in there, so you can make out a face, like a pale face in the window, and poking out of the window is a pole, and whoever this is like keeps on trying to knock the crabs that have climbed high enough up on one of the sails to like get close to the window. This person will like take the pole and like push them off. Yeah, that's what you see. What do you want to do as night begins to fall?
How big are these things again?
They're like 3-4 feet across. I'd say 3-4 feet across. If crabs are kind of that like almost heart shape, right? And so like at the widest point, so sort of towards their front, they're like 3-4 feet. The smallest one is probably like a little bit less than 3 feet across, right? And then the biggest one is like more like 4. I'm measuring distances with my hand that you can't see and that are probably wrong anyway.
So, do we have to kill these things?
Are you asking me or your companions?
Companions.
There's a lot of them, though. I mean, look how many. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Like, if you try to count them, you keep on losing count, but it's like, you're approaching 100 for sure.
Fuck that. Like, yeah, I think they're screwed.
I mean, unless we could figure out, like, I don't know if there was a way to kind of get if we knew what the crabs were interested in, and there was a way to kind of get them to run off chasing something they were interested in. But I don't know. I mean, it's curious that they seem to be interested in grabbing onto those sails of the windmill.
Are crabs carnivores?
Yeah, I think
Gavin, sorry, go ahead.
they're scavengers. Yeah, but I think that they'll eat whatever.
So, and I look up at the tower and the person that we see. If they're scavengers and there's no food source around, what are they going to do next?
Eat the pole person.
Yeah, I think at that moment, like the pole person gets like a brief reprieve as there are no crabs like up close near that window, and sort of looks out and shouts, "Sees you." Sees. Are you holding your lanterns? Like or are you not actually?
Probably probably dim so we could walk, but not enough that it would attract crabs.
Right, but she can see that there's light, right? And she says, "Ho, are you people out there?"
And I whisper to everybody, "Don't say anything."
I'm stuck here. There's 12 children in this windmill with me, and these crabs won't go away. Please help us. And at that moment, like another crab starts getting closer, and she like pokes it off.
I look at everybody else and sigh. 12
I don't know
orphans.
how we could help them.
12 orphans.
Yeah, 12 orphans, yeah.
I swear, Puckett, it's like this module was written to pull you in every direction.
Yeah, we could get their attention and try to run to the water and then leave. But I mean, I doubt 100 of them would be attracted to us enough to, pull away that these people could get away. And we'd be trying to outrun 100 crabs.
Well, you keep saying we, and I think we're probably nominating one person to do this. And you are the stealthiest of us.
I am a burglar. I could maybe get in there stealthily. Could we maneuver ourselves around the structure to see if there's another entrance?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think if you like, there's like a door there at the bottom, right? That like crabs can't open a door, right? And if you go around, like, you can see, like, there's like another window up at the back, right? Sort of like where there might be a second story. There's like sort of a row of windows sort of higher up there. No windows on the ground floor. And which I imagine is where like the millstone is. So there's no one looking out there or anything. But like there's, these crabs have completely surrounded they're probably like, it's about 100. There's 100 of them, right? So they're probably like 6 or 7 deep, right, all the way around this thing. Sort of like pushing in, crowding each other, trying to get around to the you see them like climbing over each other, right? They're not really coordinated in a meaningful way, right? They're climbing over each other, trying to get to the sails so they can get, like, they seem very single-mindedly focused on this. But like you don't see any of them trying anything different. They just keep on doing this thing as the sun is, as it gets like darker and darker.
Yeah, does anyone have any ideas? Because I don't think we can do anything here. It really is the danger mill.
Maybe running by and hitting them with a stick will draw enough of them away. Like, just poke them, like, see if we can get them to chase somebody. I don't have any other ideas.
What is the terrain around here like? I mean, is it wooded, or are there trees?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't really talk about this, right? So there's like the basic terrain is kind of like thin forest in general in this valley. A lot of it has been cleared for farms, right? Like it's populated. Right. So a lot of it has been cleared for farms, and this is like, you're on the top of the hill is completely clear. Like there are probably some trees, but like, there's a path down to the water. My guess is if you follow the path, you'd find like the remains of what was once a dock, and like maybe even like a cottage of the miller, right? Or maybe the miller lived in one of the villages nearby. Right, it's hard to, right. The mill was built there because it's high up and can capture the wind well. But like,
is the actual building made of wood or stone?
Yes, it is a wooden mill.
Right, so we can't just light a fire.
I mean, you could.
Without killing the people inside it. No.
Well, there's time. I mean, a fire would do something to these crabs, and then you could sort of figure out what to do next.
Wait, I have an idea. And I produce a crossbow bolt and say, Geen, please do me a favor and make this as flammable as you can. I'm almost positive there's no way this can go wrong.
Again, looks at you a little curious, but says, well, you seem to have an idea, so why not? And, use her wick at the end of the pole to start lighting up the bolt.
Right. So where are you? I mean, like it's a wooden bolt, right? So it will set on fire, but it's not like right, you don't have. I'm just trying to get a sense of like what you're doing here, right? You don't have like a oily rag or something to tie to it, like you know what I mean. It's not gonna. It's hard. It's not gonna just. It's not like it's not such a simple thing to. It's not like a flaming crossbow bolt in the sense that we sort of picture right from like media, where there's like
Right.
it's like it's a stick that might be kind of on fire.
Yeah. Now, Geen, throw some oil at those crabs.
Do you have oil, Geen?
Geen's a
I
lamp.
don't know. I mean, I am a lamplighter, and I do have this wick, which I would kind of assume that I have something. Uh, I mean, I don't. I didn't come with a good supply of oil.
Yeah.
Though.
What did they? What do you have instead of oil?
Well,
Maybe we just take
Right.
Smith's blowtorch.
You can definitely have Smith's blowtorch if you want.
well, and now I do have I do have my felted slippers, so I could use one of my felted slippers to perhaps do something with that bolt to actually kind of give it a little bit more. If I could get my felted slipper to tie it up and get that lit a little bit better, would perhaps increase the odds of that bolt doing something.
Absolutely. I will definitely let you do that.
But where are you planning to shoot this? Do you want to set the windmill ablaze? Are you thinking of?
No, there are children in there. No, I was going to see if I could set some crabs on fire and maybe set some more on fire. Maybe they'd start scuttling away and we could get the people out.
Or eating each other.
That too. Maybe the crabs like their meat cooked. Maybe they'd eat each other. Maybe it turns into a feeding frenzy.
You want to give it a shot?
There's only one way to find out, Geen.
Sure. I mean, but you're the one with the crossbow, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is another crossbow that's like sitting in group inventory.
How many? We didn't say how many bolts you have, right?
I'm guessing it's probably something like 20.
It's 7.
7. Okay.
7 on a D20. But yeah. So are you going to shoot one of these crabs with your felt slipper burning crossbow bolt?
I think that is indeed our plan at this point, unless anybody objects.
Yeah. So like, are you aiming for one on the edge, one towards the middle, one on a what I'll say is like if you're just going to like fire it into the middle of them and you don't care which one it hits, you will hit one. Like I'm not going to, but if you have a particular like space you want to hit, if you want to hit like one of the ones that's on the moving thing, I'm probably going to ask you to roll Dex. That's on the spinny.
God, no, I don't want to hit anything on the windmill. I want to fire. I'm perfectly content with firing it into the middle. You know, like firing into a target-rich environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you fire, and you fire, and there's the snap of the crossbow, of the crossbow string as it releases, and the bolt flies into the middle of this pack of crabs, hits one, and there's like a shriek and a sizzle. And I mean, and sort of like, the smell of roasted crab. And it doesn't like, it's a crab. It doesn't, there's no oil. There's nothing to like fuel it to be set on fire. But between the light and the sound and the a bunch of the crabs turn to you. And I think though most of them keep on looking, like are still focused on the mill. A group of 4 that you can sort of see the edge of your lamplight that were sort of like near and around where that crab that you hit was start coming in your direction, and like 2 or 3 start to follow them too. So there's like a total of, let's say, 7 of these crabs like scuttling towards you. What would you like to do?
Well, we tried. Let's run.
I was just going to say that I would like to take back every idea I have ever had. Run away. Run away.
I mean, they're slow, right? These things are not quick. Right? Like you can, I think like like as you get, and it's dark. So as you get like, you don't have to get very far before they stop chasing you. Right? And like turn around and go back.
Yeah. We would need to like kill a whale and for them to have smelled it and then come and get it, I think, for at this point to save those people from 100 crabs. And I doubt we could kill a whale anyway. So.
Plus, whales are in the ocean. We're not on the ocean.
Yeah,
there's no river whales.
And you hear a voice saying, "Please, I think, please help us. I see you tried." Whoa. And I think she shouts out, and I'm going to help you out here maybe a little bit, but she shouts out, "Do you even have like a rope you could toss up or something?"
I smack myself in the face.
But I thought the crabs were around it, like around the whole thing.
Right. I mean, there are things to figure out, right? But I think, she's like, if you could just, I don't know, I'm not a...
Shoot the rope up.
Like,
we've got the crossbow.
Right, just a rope, and we can't climb down the side, but maybe we could, I don't know, do something.
I mutter under my breath. Load another bolt into the crossbow. How much rope do we have?
I mean, how much did you bring with you? You each have like a coil of rope. We don't give a specific. Let's say you each have like 20 feet. You each have like 20 feet of rope.
How tall is the windmill?
That's a good question. It's probably the window is at like 30 feet up. But you can have more rope than that. If you want, let's say you have 40 feet of rope. I don't have like a.
So 40 feet of rope doesn't allow us to build any kind of triangle for them to slide down and out of the range of the crabs. That's just barely enough to get them to the ground.
Well, they're pretty slow. We could try to like attract them away from that side and run away.
I mean, here. That is definitely a thing you could do. How do you want to try to attract them?
Give me Smith's blowtorch. I'll do it.
I was going to say food, but...
What kind of food do you think might attract them? What have you got that might...
Did the people on the skiffs have any, like, fish and stuff?
I mean, you have we never really determined like what you have, right? Your what kind of food you have, so you can kind of have what you want.
Maybe
within, but that's like easily packable, right? So more like hard tack. You could have like dried fish tack or whatever, if that's what.
I have these candies that I picked up. I don't know if the crabs would like the candies that I got from the village.
Do they have like a strong odor of fish? Like, what's the?
I think there probably would be. Yeah, I mean, they had that fishy taste, so I think they probably do have like a fishy smell to them.
I mean, you can see what happens.
Try it.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I could try. Yeah, throw a couple of those candies towards the crabs to see what their reaction is.
Yeah, I think the nearest crab, like, do you throw it into the middle or like off to the side of the pile?
I think off to the side to just
Right.
kind of better
So,
assess the reaction.
Yeah, so like the one or two on the edge, like, turn around. I don't know what crab's sense of smell is like, but we're gonna say they can smell this, right? And they like turn around and like go towards it, and like their sort of mouth bits are like go down, and they're sort of like shoving each other to try to get at it. I think two or three more sort of see this happening or notice this happening and like peel off. It definitely gets their attention.
So let's try to draw them to the other side and shoot the rope, and then just hope it takes them a while. Maybe a few will get out.
Yeah, so I mean, I Gian would be happy to kind of go off with the candies to, try to lure them away.
So I think here's just sort of like what's possible and what you need to do to like make it a little bit tough, right? If you're just like throwing a few, we don't know how many do you have. I'm going to roll a die to discover this number, but it's going to be a big die, right? So you have, we'll say, another 10 of those candies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can like, if you're just like throwing them, like you'll be like you did there, you'll peel a few off from the edges, but it's not going to make a big difference, right? But like, so you need to like come up with a way to sort of like get close enough with enough to get their attention with them. But you can do that.
Too bad. Smith wasn't here, because then we could just use the dog, like just put some candies on the dog and be like, run around, dog.
If you want to have Smith's dog, but I don't know that it's going to listen to you like Smith does. Like it does.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more of, I think it's an intricate plan that might require its odor. What can we do to make it?
I wouldn't, like, you don't have to overthink this, I think, is the other thing I'll say to you. Like, there's a lot of different things you could do that would work just as well, right? There's no, like, secret thing I'm thinking of, right? Like, like what, all I was basically saying is you kind of have to be close to them with the candies and, like, move, to get them to, like, pay attention to them.
Like, get close enough that they all smell the candy and then draw them away.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do it.
I've got a limp, so I'm out.
I mean, I'm the one who appears to be a sucker for everybody yelling, "Help! Help!" So, if you can get them out of that windmill, I'll lead the crabs off.
And next time we approach a structure, I'm going to say earmuffs, kicks.
How about we just not approach structures from now on? That seems like a better idea.
Well, at least we are seeing interesting things on our travels. But sure.
Oh yes, interesting things.
So, Kix, what are you going to do?
I am going to take a page out of an adventure I once read about this little silly halfling running around insulting spiders. And I'm going to insult the crabs. Assuming, of course, that they can speak some language that I speak. But I'm going to have these candies with me just in case. So I'm just going to, if it comes down to it, I'm just going to run and kick some of them and then run off.
Yeah. I mean, like, when they hear you shouting, like, a couple of them will, like, definitely, like, that's enough to get them to kind of, like, some of them are paying, ooh, like, go after you. Right. But for sure, like, you've got their attention. They don't really understand what you're saying. They're animals. But like, if you're kicking them, they start trying to snap onto you. I think if you want to try to sort of like, and then if you're like sort of wielding the sort of like dancing among them and wielding the fish candies, like you've got their attention. They like anyone you get close to with that candy starts like starts looking towards you and chasing you. And I'm just because you're like dancing in and among them. Like I said, they're not that fast. So like if you're running dead on, they can't catch you. But like because you're gonna have to make a dex save to just like to avoid getting clawed.
Of course I am. Holy crap, did I actually make that? I did. My dex is 11.
Yeah, you made it. Yeah, so you are like, it's like hot potato or something. I don't know, some dance situation. Hot potato, it's not right. Where you like, but you're like, one will snap at your leg and you'll pull it out of the way in time, and one will like try to snap at your hand that's holding the candy, and you'll like yank it right away. And you, where are you running to? What's your sort of like, how far away are you trying to pull them?
I'm just trying to get them far enough away from that window so that Tot and Geen, who I have an endless amount of faith in, can get these people out of that building.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean, like I think you've definitely, if they work quickly, right, you've definitely pulled the crabs. There may be a couple of stragglers, but like one or two crabs do not like, you can kick one in the face without too much trouble, right? These are not like smart, quick creatures. Really, it was their number that makes them intimidating. So if you can definitely like shoot that crossbow up and have those people climb down, with no trouble at all. Is that what you're gonna do?
Do it up.
Yeah, and so that means she said that there were 12 kids.
Yeah, 12 kids. So it takes some time. You're probably gonna. We'll come back to you in a second, Kix, to find out how you escape this pack of crabs 90 some odd crabs that's like chasing you around. But in the meantime, she I assume one of you fires the rope up so it sticks, and she like starts sending kids out, right? And these kids sort of like come out, and they're sitting there in the night, like kind of cold and sad, and she introduces herself as Tana Che Erla. She says, thank you so much. We took shelter here for the night last night, and when we woke up this morning, the crabs were here. We were trying to get down to Karamor. And then, well, it's been a day. It's been a day. We're from we come from the Palnacrum village across the way. Thank you. Do you have someplace we can go? And is your friend, what happened to the crabs?
They're chasing our friend right now, but I'm sure she'll be fine. She's a quick one.
I think when Tot says that, the camera cuts back to you, Kix. So like, what are you going to do?
I think at this point my plan is run faster. That's a plan, right?
Yeah. Run faster to where?
At this point, I think I want to yell, "Are they out yet?"
Yeah, I mean, if we can hear that, Gian would say yes, and we're gonna take them towards our skiff.
Yeah. So, when you say that, right, some of the stragglers, it's not that they understood you; they just hear another voice, and they're not close enough to Kix to really, right? Some of the stragglers start scuttling towards your sort of cluster, and they're like moving slowly. You're not, but there's like a growing number that are sort of like starting to sort of scuttle over towards you. That are not, like there's a lot of them. So They're not all like right up against Kix with the candy to enrapture them.
We just run for the boat, I guess. Run for the boat. I guess our boat can't handle that many people, though, I'm sure.
No,
right?
you do have the second canoe. Will still lash to the boat.
Yeah, they could just have that, and we could continue on. Boom.
Yeah.
Both boats save people. Done. Mission accomplished.
Oh, you still have to figure out what you're doing about these. I mean, I guess you could all like if you shout sprint. So what you shout sprint for the boat? Is that what you do?
I think with the stragglers, because I mean these are kids. I think Gian would peel off a little bit and make some noise to get the stragglers. I feel like Gian is probably a little bit more swift of foot than the pack of 12 kids, and so that Gian will peel off and make a little bit of noise to get the stragglers focused on her, to maybe permit a little bit more distance to be created with the kids.
Yeah, sure. Kix, did you take all the candy or just some of the candy?
I don't know. Game, did you give me all the candy or just some of the candy?
I think I reserved one piece for myself, but I may have to sacrifice that now.
Yeah, sure. Because like if you they'll like if you're close enough to like within reach of them, they'll like come for you. But the thing is, like they're not gonna like. Well, I guess at this point you're sort of the thing that's there, so they'll sort of like latch onto you if they can. So yeah, like you've probably got like half a dozen of them now on your tail as you're running in a different direction.
Yeah, and
I calmly walk into the mill looking for something. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, that's a thought, right? You need to do something with these crabs.
I mean, I think what Gian wants to do is once I feel like the rest are away. I mean, you know, she'll try to then pick up the pace a little bit and see if she can kind of get the crabs off of her tail.
So let me just like establish sort of the problem here. I think because now we're like in a little bit of a like a spin cycle or something, right? Here's the problem: you got them out of the windmill, but these crabs are still, I guess, hungry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any one of them is not very dangerous. The problem is there are a lot of them, right? And you've managed to figure out a way to get their attention and distract them, but like ultimately, like they're like that's only going to last so long if they don't catch you. So you have to figure out something to do with them, whether it's like lure them somewhere else that will hold their attention longer, right? Or you know,
I set fire to the mill.
Interesting. How do you do that? I mean, you have fire making stuff, but it's,
Yeah,
like
with the
it's a big
blowtorch.
hardwood mill and everything's wet because of the floods.
Oh yeah, wet.
Like I guess you need fuel. I think all Tana sees what you're doing, and it's like there's still some dry grain on the second floor. That might light.
I'll climb up the rope and do it.
Sure. Sure. So you climb up the rope to the. I mean, you can also just like walk in and go up the stairs, right? At this point, if you want, but
if it's that clear, then I'll do that.
Yeah. You walk in, and you go up the stairs, and there's like a few like sacks of dry grain.
I'll make a kind of fuse with some. If there's any clothing in the mill.
I mean, there's the sacks, right? There's the burlap sacks.
Sure. So I'll try to make it so that there's like a delay so that I can get out and then set it up like a bomb.
Sure.
Die hard these crabs.
Sure, sure. So you're gonna so the plan is to is just to clarify. So the plan is to light the mill on fire and get the crabs in the mill.
Yeah. And then I imagine we just tell the kids and the mother where to run towards the skiff
Sure. Yeah. So
while
they're
this is happening.
yeah. I don't know that they're well. We can figure out whose kids they are later. Yeah. So you tell them where your skiff is, and they start like heading off. Um, um. So how are you going to get the crabs into the mill?
Oh, I imagine that they would just be drawn to the fire. Like I imagine they don't know what fire is and would just be attracted
Oh, I
to the
think they're
pretty
probably
light.
scared of fire, right?
Oh yeah.
Like
Roll for it.
I mean, animals are generally scared of fire.
Okay.
But,
Is there?
I mean, I don't know. You seem to be. There's people who are leading them around places.
I can always throw the candy in.
Sure, I bet that would work.
Well, there we go.
Yeah,
Just make an intricate path around the mill and then loop back and throw in the candy, and then we'll make a break for it.
Oh, what do you mean loop back? I'm just going to go around the mill. And then I'm
Sure.
going to toss the candy in there like it's some sort of, confectioner's grenade.
yeah.
Sure.
I think it works like a charm, right? These crabs are all like diving into the mill. You may have to toss in more than one piece, right? Just because there's a lot of them, and but by the time you get the third piece in there, like they're going in. And how long do you try and set that fuse for?
Like a few minutes or something like that. Enough for me to get out and enough of them to get in.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
And then hopefully they just eat the people that or the crabs that die.
Oh yeah, I mean the other thing is right. There's grain, right? So there's food in there too. So
Oh yeah, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's candy. Yeah, so I think this just works. So you have to do the work, right? But like it's a good idea. It fits the situation. Todd, tell me what it looks like when you shut the door on those crabs and then the mill goes up.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that we've left like a little while ago and we just see like all these crabs scuttling in and like making out like bandits, and then the camera pans around to like the fire slowly burning towards these sacks. And then I imagine probably crabs are still trying to get in when it blows up.
Sure. Yeah, and it's like the smell of popping wheat and burning wheat and wood.
I would
Right.
like it if one of the things that turn of the mill somehow falls and slices a crab in half or something.
Right. It's like everything because it's not really quite an explosion, right? There's nothing explosive in there, but like between the expansion of all the grain, which is I think what Kix was alluding to in the chat, right, and the and just like the dry the heat of the mill catching on fire, yeah, and as you get back down to the bottom of the hill, I think the kids are like looking up at this as the blaze is just like which can be seen from miles and miles and miles around.
I say, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
And this seems like a good moment to take our second break. So let's come back at 1:30. Puckett, you back with us?
Indeed.
Excellent. So, you're there at the foot of the hill. And now it's probably we'll call it like 9:30. You know, full dark. You know, the fire is burning at the top of the hill. You can also see from across the river, like the small glow a ways in the distance of another much smaller fire. And it's you I gave her name here. Where's her name? Tanache Urla. And these 12 kids. And she tells you her story, which is like very, very simple. Like, you know, during the flood, they got, you know, these are kids that got separated from their parents. And she had sort of found them back in Palnacrum, which is the village you had been in with the golem. And they were sort of trying to make their way. So like it was a few days there, and then the golem came and they ran. And they were sort of trying to make their way across land down to Karamor, where she hoped that, you know, some of the survivors of Palnacrum would be, and, you know, they would be able to be the kids would be able to be reunited with some of their parents, you know, and then sort of figure out next steps. I think 2 of these kids are heroes, and the other 10 are, you know, just kids she collected after the flood. But you know, they went to spend the night in the windmill, and they woke up, and stuck by crabs, and they were there the whole day. She's like so thankful. And they have some like, you know, they have some supplies that they were able to gather from Palnacrum. They have their own, I wouldn't quite call it camping stuff, but she has like a bag with, you know, some blankets and pads or whatever. They didn't have to leave it all behind. And she says, I think we're gonna just, you know, camp here for the night, and I guess keep trying to head to Karamor. It doesn't look like there's room for us in your boat. We'll keep going over land, but thank you.
Or you could take this canoe.
And she looks at it, and she sort of like, it will be tight. Do you think we can all squeeze in? All right, those canoes fit like I think it was like 8 adults. So like with 1 adult and 13 kids, maybe it would be tight. But she's like, we can. Thank you. We'll give it a shot.
Good luck.
I mean, they're not going anywhere for now, right? It's the middle of the night. They're going to sort of try and sit down and make a fire and cook what food they have and eat and rest. And I think they feel a little safer close to you if you're going to hang out here in camp. So what do you want to do for the night?
I want to scavenge some carapaces.
Sure. How much time do you want to spend on that? You can do it. It won't cost you. It's like you can go up there and scavenge some carapaces 100%.
I'm thinking like an hour or 2. I mean, I feel like crab carapaces will be better armor than wood blocks.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say it will take you an hour to get like a couple, 45 minutes up. Like mostly this is just a question of how much time it takes you in terms of like how much time you're going to have at night, and, you know, I guess potential like random stuff that can happen. But yeah, if you want, let's say it'll take 2 hours for the whole project, right? To go up there, come back, and like gather, try and find a crab carapace that's not like completely destroyed by the fire.
Upgraded armor.
Ding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you do it. Like what tool? I'm just curious how you're gonna like take these crab carapaces and turn them into armor.
Well,
it's an awesome enough idea that I am on your side. I want this to happen. I think it'll be more comfortable. I don't think it's going to be higher quality in terms of like protection, but like you can get probably in terms of like just raw numbers, it's still going to be like 1 armor, but like you can probably, if you can figure out how to make it right, like it will be a little more flexible, right, lighter, like fictionally it will be better.
I do have my mummy sword.
That's true. You do have your mummy sword.
There's a cutting implement that I can use.
Yes, also machetes.
Yeah.
I think it's more like the shaping and connecting that's going to be the challenge, right?
Okay. So shaping and connecting. Well, I've got all this string from these wood blocks, right?
Yeah, you could definitely cannibalize your wood block armor.
I'm wondering. Ooh, I wonder if it can be. It'd be really precise to try to heat it up to fit it over the wood blocks as like an external shell, no pun intended. But I'm thinking just like trying to do it near the fire and bend it so that the fire warms it. And you know this, most of us here wear glasses. When you try to like adjust your glasses or you're trying to repair them, if you run them under warm water or hot water, or you get like a blow dryer, you can actually bend the plastic a little bit easier. So I'm thinking between having it near the fire and like kind of almost just like kind of shaping it on the inside with the wood blocks and like kind of just almost combing it, like whittling at it, but not really trying to take any mass off, just trying to bend it.
So here's what I'm going to say. You can do this. No question you can do this. But I think it takes you a lot of time. Like, you're not trained in this. Like, it's going to be hit or miss. If you want it, so like I think this is like a solid 4 or 5 hour job for you. And just like what that means, it means a couple of things, right? It means that if you wait till morning, it pushes off your
departure,
right? And no, that has an impact. If you do it at night, you need a solid 4 hours sleep, not to get the deprived condition and not be able to do short rests. So like, what does that mean for you? And then also it's just a question of like, sitting up, right? Like potential. Right. So what was it? 9:30. So it's like 11:30 by the time you get back to camp, right? With these carapaces, right?
Can we take the carapaces with us and like wait until Smith's with us? Because Smith might have, I'm looking at it with everything. Like a deconstructor would probably have a better idea of how to turn these carapaces into something like armor than I would.
Sure, you can definitely. I mean, I think I'll sort of say like, it's still not like he's not a craftsman, right? He's in demolitions. But like I think between the two of you, you could do it in a slightly shorter amount of time.
Okay. In that case, I'll just toss them on the boats. And are we taking guarding? Are we taking guard rotations or?
Probably wise with the crabs about.
Yeah, and you can definitely, like, again, I'm not going to make you like figure out the guard rotations for this and what have you. Basically, it's the way we're going to do this is it's 1 4 hour cycle of sleep plus 2 hours or something, right? So you'll all, I think I'm just going to roll it as one sleep cycle and one encounter roll just for simplification. And you'll all be fine in terms of rest. And yeah, the night is uneventful. And I think the next morning comes at sunrise around 6, and after, a quick breakfast, Tana and her little crew of children like packed onto that canoe. They can like just squeeze themselves in, start sort of like rowing off down the river, but they're going up river against the current for a moment to get to that cut through, right? That they saw from the top of the river, right? That there's a shorter route, so they don't have to go all the way around the loop. So they're kind of going in the direction that you're going to go for the next little bit before they turn. And yeah, you're there under the hill, probably smoke still billowing up from the top of that fire, right? It probably maybe even hasn't completely burned out yet, and you can still see that thin stream of smoke across the river. And I think something else you could see now from where you are that's full daylight is up ahead of you a kind of another hilly island on which you can see herds and like just a whole over here, right? A whole slew of animals, sheep, cattle, domestic animals, just kind of like hanging out and grazing.
It's a good thing we're not hungry.
Hill of animals there. Over here for... I did not mean to do that. How do I do? There we go. And over here for now, right, is where you can see the smoke coming from over here, that little thin stream of smoke. And let's actually just, for shits and giggles, because it's fun, make it clear that the windmill is aflame. So what would you like to do? You can, continue going down the river. You can cross to see what's happening with that smoke. I actually think this is a good time for us to have just kind of like, I think, a brief. We're about halfway done with our sessions, with our campaign, and the way this is sort of structured, it's this journey, right? And there's like these sort of big, there's the dam in the middle, and then at the end there's the actual observatory dungeon, right? Which is a piece of it too. So like we've been going at like, I'm generally a slow paced GM. I'm not always great at like getting you places fast, and there's just tons of potential. This is a sandboxy thing with tons of potential encounters, and we've been interacting with a lot of stuff, which is awesome, and I've been having an amazing time. But I do think it's worth like what do you guys want to see, right? Do you want to make sure to get to that dungeon at the end, right? Well, I'm not worried about getting to the dam. We'll get to the dam, but like if either probably next session, regardless of what you do. But like, do you like? If the actual like dungeon crawl piece of this is important to you, we'll like kind of collapse time a little bit to make sure that you can spend a couple of sessions in that dungeon. But if you're more interested in like continuing with the sort of leisurely overland, see what we see thing, we can do that. I can't necessarily promise then that we get to spend much time in the dungeon.
Yeah, but I mean, for like when the sun rises, from where we are, would we have a view of the dam? Would we be able to see the dam from where we are?
I don't. I think you can see like sort of like the wall of the valley, and you can sort of make out that there's like the you can see that like some of it is hold on, like. Some of it seems like man-made, and some of it are like the natural, right? I don't think you've got like a good look at the dam quite yet. You can see its presence is making itself felt, for sure.
I'm interested in seeing the dungeon.
All right, so here is my suggestion for how we do this, if it's cool with you. Like, you now have a sense of like what the sort of like basic structure of this place is like. So what I'm going to kind of suggest is that next session we'll start you outside the dam. right, and sort of like skim over this last part of the river without like random encounters and stuff, just to sort of like get you there. This is the village that I thought. Meaning the stuff that happens here, you've already done. So that's cool. So we'll sort of like fast forward to the beginning of the next session to start you at the dam. And then, we'll see how long. My guess is that's about a session, the inside of the dam. And then when you pop out the other side, we'll kind of, do a session. We'll say like there'll be 3 sessions after that. So like maybe try and do 1 or 2 of these river encounters, just kind of as like a little bit less sandboxy, a little bit more like, I'll give you some choice. Like you'll be presented with some choices in the world and you'll sort of choose what to do. But like, we won't like do the slow slogging through the river. And that will give you the last 2 sessions in the dungeon. Is everyone cool with like that as a way to sort of make sure you get to see some stuff? But also spend some time exploring the final dungeon of this place.
Sure.
Great. I do like the open sandboxy exploration stuff, but it's just, I think at the end of the day, to do that for the whole 9 sessions isn't really enough to do that here. So we've done a bunch of that and we'll do a little bit more of it, but I also sort of want to make sure you get to see like the big set pieces of the module too. Like that is important. So it's a little bit early. But maybe, is there anything left you folks really want to do that you've here this next morning?
Nothing I can think of.
I don't think so.
Okay, great. So let's call it here.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Could we grab any rations from the crabs? I know Fraser was saying in side chat that the crabs are going to be tasty, etc. But seriously, should we grab? Can we and should we grab food from the crabs?
Yeah, you definitely can. I have not really been tracking food in any way or shape. I've been tracking the days, and that basically, so long as you don't delay too much, you have enough food. It's sort of like the way I've been thinking about it. Right. So like you haven't like stopped anywhere for an unreasonable amount of time. If you take some extra food, you'll have some extra food. And if you get stuck in either the dam or the dungeon for a long time, game time wise, then like, maybe I'll say, hey, you're sorry, but for now you're taking some extra crab meat will not hurt you. If you want to take like 1 or 2 portions of that, there isn't that much, right? Because they were sort of like, most of them got burned to death in like a pretty big blaze. But if you want to say when you were scavenging for shell, you also got some meat, go for it. Which will help stretch your food supply out a little bit longer if you get delayed.
Sweet. We did that.
Yeah, awesome. So let's stop the recording. And then it's a little bit early, so you mind taking some time for Stars and Wishes?